We're still following along with the Rousal Presbyterian Church sermon series, and the title of which is, you'll recall, Through the Cracks. So about our imperfections and being willing to be vulnerable. As Leonard Cohen said, ring the bell that still can ring, forget the perfect offering. The crack is where the light gets in. So the sermon this week started out with a story about a championship basketball game, a state high school state team, and their unlikely success and how amazing that was, and relating that to as Jesus got closer to Jerusalem and the coming crucifixion. Probably it wasn't like a state championship event. Jesus knew that there was really not going to be any obvious earthly triumph coming. And so the point of the sermon was that to gain our life, we must lose it, be willing to immerse ourselves in difficulties and challenges, and decide who we will be coming out on the other side. So that's my question for you, my invitation. When the challenges come, when things get tough, I'm going to offer a what do you want to be? So maybe an adjective. So decide what you want to be on the hard road. And then let that go and come back to your breath. And on an exhale, maybe holding your knees, drop your chin to your chest. Just the weight of your head might help you feel some stretching along the back side of the body. Good. And then inhale, bring your head back over center. And just turn it from side to side a couple of times. Maybe really seeing what's around you as you shift your gaze. Just keep that easy breathing going. And then come on back to neutral and take one ear to one shoulder. So keep your spine nice and straight. Just make it about the neck. Maybe you take your opposite fingertips away from you. Couple of breaths. Nose still pointing forward. Come on back to neutral. So the thing is you are enough. Remember I said that last week, you are enough. Just like you are, go to the other side. And I think the yoga mat, our practice is helpful because when we get challenged, we get to notice our own reactions. First we notice the sensations in our body, then we notice where our mind goes. You might catch a glimpse of a leg that you thought was straight that wasn't really straight. Inhaling, come on back up. Doesn't matter. If you're getting the right sensation, the stretchy feeling, it's working. All right, so we're going to do a little full spinal warm up here, just seated. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me. On an inhale, gently lift your chest and arch. And exhaling, hollow out. Pull your mid-back back. So you look like a capital C shape. And then reverse again, tilt your pelvis forward and lift your chest. And exhaling, arch, or hollow out. So basically we're just practicing right here on the mat for what comes at us off the mat. Inhale, gently lift. And exhale, hollow out. So Viktor Frankl said, do one more. In between stimulus and response is a space. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that space where we get to choose how to respond and we can make it more available to us. So inhale, get tall, and exhale, twist to one side. Doesn't matter which one. Just keep your shoulders level. Still sitting up tall. One more deep breath. And exhaling, gently release. So it might go something like, oh, inhale, go the other way. I just noticed I'm really tight in my ribs there. Well, if I stay and breathe, maybe I can get a little more movement. Have a little more patience. Or whatever other quality you're working on. Good. So inhale, get tall again. And just slowly and gently fold yourself forward with a flat spine. So you might just start to feel this a little bit in your low back or the hip of the leg that you have in front. Not too much because it's early. And then inhale, come on back up to center. Identify which leg is in front. If you're seated in a chair, it doesn't matter. We'll just go to both sides, right? So whatever leg is in front, you're going to twist to that side. So resting your hand, unfolding straight over. All right, like you're squished between two pieces of glass. So neither leaning forward nor back, straight to the side. Nice, inhaling, come on back up. And then switch your legs. All right, so now the other foot's in front. Maybe rock from hip to hip again and resettle. And exhaling, gently fold yourself forward again. Just noticing this hip. So part of keeping our spines healthy is staying flexible. All those muscles around the spine. Hips, the hamstrings, the front of the thighs. And inhaling, come on back up. And we'll get ready to fold to the side on that side. So taking your hand a little bit away from your body, reach the other arm up, get really tall, and then fold. So root that opposite hip. And inhaling, come on back up to center. And exhaling, gently release. We're going to make just some little circles with our rib cage. Right? So feel like you're in a barrel and you're trying to get your rib cage to touch every edge of the barrel. So inhale, go forward and to one side. As you exhale, do that little hollowing out, cat-cow. Inhaling, pushing forward, gently arching. So just keep doing that in that one direction. A couple more times. You could make it bigger. You could start to involve the shoulders and the head. Do one more in this direction. And get back to neutral and pause. And we'll go the other direction. I'm just going to turn forward. So make that circle in the barrel. Try and get your ribs to touch every corner. Well, barrels don't have corners, do they? Find those edges. Maybe it gets a little bit bigger. That feels safe. Do one more. And then come on back to neutral and sit up tall. And maybe already you notice that your body feels a little bit different just from that little bit of move in the spine. So then we're going to stretch our legs out in front of us. Again, if you have trouble sitting up with your pelvis perpendicular to the ground, this is what we don't want. We don't want the rolling under on the sacrum. So sit up on a block or blanket if it's helpful. You could also keep your knees a little bit bent, right? So I want to sit up tall here in Dandasana, firm up those quadricep muscles, draw your toes back towards your knees. And on an inhale, take your arms up in the air. And on an exhale, draw your elbows down and back like cactus arms or goalpost arms. And just feel all that strength in your spine, openness in your chest. Take your arms up overhead again. One more time, draw them back and down. and then release your hands. And we're going to roll back down onto our backs. So do that safely. Most of the injuries happen during transitions, so take your time. So I've got my knees bent, feet flat on the ground, hip width apart. Maybe turn your toes in just a little bit so you feel a little bit pigeon-toed, and tuck your shoulder blades together. So bend your arms 90 degrees so that your fingertips are pointing toward the ceiling. And we're going to use the backs of our upper arms and our big toes as our launch points. So on an inhale, push into the arms and the big toe mound and lift your hips. And exhale, drop them down. Do that 2 more times. Inhaling, lift your hips. And exhale, drop them down. 1 more time. Inhale, lift your hips. And exhale, drop them down. Good. Release your arms, just take them out to the side. So lift your hips up, shift them to the left slightly, and then drop your knees to the right. So you're getting a nice, easy spinal twist here. You could use your right hand on top of your left outer thigh. That feels good. You could take your left arm up overhead for a different kind of stretch. Just a nice, relaxed, easy twist. Kind of letting gravity do the work. Good, then roll onto stay on your right side. Bring your left side of your body over like you're closing a book. So now you're totally on your right side. So cradling your head in your right arm. First, we're going to stretch our calf muscles. So you could grab the back of your pant leg if you can't get a hold of your ankle, or you can run your hand down your shin. Keep your knee in line with your hip and then start to draw your knee back. See if you can be one long line from your knee, through your hip, through your shoulder. So we're getting rid of that hip crease. Few breaths here. Took a long time for these muscles to get tight. All that sitting in a chair. And exhaling, pull your low belly in, gently release the foot. I had a client once that used to come do yoga, and when he let go of his foot, his leg would shoot out like someone just shot a rubber band. I hope that didn't happen to you. So then we're going to make like circles on a clock with our left arm, right? So pretend that it's the big hand of the clock. And just make some circles, trying to keep it as close to the ground as you can, but staying on your side. One more circle in this direction. Just move with your breath. Notice what you're feeling. You don't necessarily have to react to it. So the other direction. Nice. Good. So bring your hand back down by your hip. Pull your low belly in and roll back onto your back. So we're going to do another bridge pose here. Root your feet, your big toes, root your upper arms. You can take your fingertips to the ceiling again if you want. And an inhale, lift your hips. Maybe you want to underlace your hands underneath you. So an interesting thing to observe might be the difference between your left front thigh and your right, your quadricep muscles. You might feel a little more space in the left. And exhaling, if you had your hands clasped, release them and drop your hips back down. So then you're going to lift your hips slightly and shift them an inch or two over to the right. And then you're going to drop your knees to the left. I'm just going to flip around so I don't have my back to you. All right, so now we're doing that easy side twist stretch on our back, right? You could take your left hand and Put it on top of your right thigh. Remember, there shouldn't be any pain in your low back. Couple of breaths here. Good. And then fold your body like you're closing a book so that you're totally on your left side. Cradle your head in your left arm. And see if you can grab hold of that right ankle. Lengthen out so that you're one long line from your knees, through your hip, through your shoulders. Be patient with your body. Breathe into the tight space. Use those exhales. See if you can get it to open up a little bit more. And exhaling. Gently release the foot. Bring your knees back up a little bit. So there's no pain in the back. And then make those big circles on the clock face with your right arm. And then change direction. Make sure there's no tension building in your neck. Really let your head be heavy. And you notice how that gave you a little more motion in your shoulder joint. And then bring your hand back down by your hip. But you know where we're going. Pull your low belly in. We're going to roll back onto our back. Level out your hips. One more bridge pose, right? So root your feet, root your elbows, and inhale, lift your hips. Let's see if we evened out. And take a breath. And then exhale, gently release. Draw your knees into your chest and gently rock from side to side. And then roll to one side so that you can come on up to all fours. So pad your knees if you need, using a blanket or make a wrinkle in your yoga mat. Spread your fingers really wide like Spider-Man hands. Like you're drawing the arch of your palms upwards, squeezing with the finger pads. And then right away, take that left leg out behind you, curl the toes under, maybe get a nice little calf stretch. And then inhale, lift the heel. So we're going with the clock face. Theme today, point your toe, your left toe, like you're tapping 6 o'clock, then tap 7 o'clock, then tap 8 o'clock, maybe try 9 o'clock, come back to 6 o'clock, and then lift your left heel and flex your foot. So you could stay here, or you could think about taking your right thumb to the ceiling at 12 o'clock. So think about your inner thighs, upper arms, everything squeezing toward the midline to help you balance. And exhaling, gently release. It might feel good to rock your hips from side to side, or take your hips back towards your heels in a little mini child pose. And then we'll get ready to go to the other side. So firm up those finger pads. Take the right foot out behind you, get a little calf stretch. Curling those toes under. And then lift the right heel. All right, nice and long. And then point your toe and tap 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Sorry, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and back to 6 o'clock. And then lift that right heel again, flex the foot. Make yourself a little bit longer, stronger, taller, and maybe you take your left thumb to the ceiling. Use your upper arms, inner thighs. And exhaling, gently release. Rock your hips from side to side again. Maybe it would feel good to just come onto your elbows. Maybe you could rock back into a child's pose. And then inhaling, come on back up to all fours. So grab hold of a block or a chair, whatever's helpful. We're going to bring that left foot forward in low lunge. All right, so starting to get that stretch in the front hip flexor again. So this might feel a little bit more comfortable since we've already stretched that quad. All right. So a couple of options with your arms. You could make that cactus pose and draw your elbows way back, right? You could take your hands behind you, especially if you have trouble with your shoulder joints. Maybe interlace your hands, just lifting your sternum. So feel the spine getting longer. Maybe take your fingertips up in the air. And on an exhale, bring your hands back to the block or the chair. You're going to curl those back toes under and lift that back thigh. So let's turn it down and inward, setting up for warrior two. So make sure you're nice and stable, right? We've got a heel to arch alignment, pushing into the outer edge of that back foot. So I'm not your mirror, right? My left foot's in front. We're not going to look like we're mirroring each other. So definitely use a chair, go back against a wall, hold on to a countertop, dining room table. Just make sure you're practicing safely, right? So remember in the challenges, remember your intention that you set. Don't judge yourself. Just learn from the practice. And inhaling, go ahead and straighten your leg. And turn those 10 toes forward. So now you're facing the short edge of your mat. So go ahead and soften your knees a little bit. And then straighten up again. Nice. And then we're going to turn our other toes out. So we're going to come back to the ground on this side. Right? So turn those 10 toes out. Right? Then you're going to face that short edge of your mat. Lift your back heel. Should have told you to bring your block with you. Sorry about that. Transition, float that back knee down. So we're back in high lunge on this side. Low lunge. Sorry, knees on the ground. There you go. Well done. Right? So getting that hip flexor stretch, lengthen the spine, and then decide where you want to place your arms. Or maybe you want to do a little of all three. So if you're having trouble being stable, walk your front foot out to the side a little bit and try and drop a little lower. Maybe you're going to interlace your hands. Maybe you're going to take your fingertips floating up into the air. Feel that lightness. And exhaling right back to your prop. So you can curl your back toes under again. We're getting ready for warrior two on this side, right? So turn that back heel down and in. Again, making sure you're nice and stable. Push into the outer edge of that back foot to help protect your knee. Good job. And settle in for a couple breaths. Steady your gaze. Firm up your tricep muscles on your arms. Feel like somebody's pulling on your wrists. Nice. And then inhaling, go ahead and straighten and turn those 10 toes inward. So having a block or a chair, something in front of you, We're going to soften our knees and then lengthen them again and fold straight forward with a flat spine. So maybe you rest your hands on your block. So we get into a little hip work here. Just start to bend one knee gently, taking the knee over the toes, and then come on back through center. Stay low and go to the other side. Nice. So you might need to separate your feet a little bit more, right? We're just going to shift from side to side. Go one more time, each side. And then come on back to center. And as long as you don't have any eye pressure issues like glaucoma or severely uncontrolled blood pressure, you could fold yourself all the way over so your head drops below your heart. Make sure your toes are still kind of pigeon-toed. And then maybe work on straightening your legs. So if you know a way to go deeper into this pose, feel free. Couple breaths here. So to come out of it, you're going to lift your chest, soften your knees. Maybe raise yourself up, holding on to the block or the chair. So my heart is pretty much level with my hips right now. I'm going to stay there for a couple breaths. Maybe bring your hands to your thighs. Keep pulling your low belly in, draw your elbows back. And then slowly come up safely. Shoulders right back over the hips. Nice. And heel toe your way in. Okay, so we're going to practice a one-legged balance today. Instead of traditional tree pose, we're going to do like that lowercase h shape. Doesn't really matter which way I turn. So we'll start standing on our right leg. So I often use the analogy of like, think of a construction crane, and there's that frame, the metal frame that holds the cable. Well, it's not really the frame that's doing the work. It's the cable in between. So maybe even take your arms and interlace your fingers over your head, so you get that sense of everything drawing to the midline. And then shift your weight into the right side of your body only as much as you need. So if you need to hold on to a chair or wall, that's okay. Just take one arm up. And then feel the inner thighs, the upper arms, and all those muscles in your core pulling into the midline to help you balance. It's okay if you fall out of it. Just get back in. And exhaling, gently release. Bring your hands back to your heart and take a breath. It's hard work. So go right to the other side. Shift your weight into the other leg. Feel that nice, strong cable working inside your bones, holding you up. And exhaling, gently release. Nice. I'm going to stay sideways just so you can see me. I'm going to keep my feet 2 fist widths apart, so the outer edges of my feet are parallel. Wiggle my toes, and then sit down into my heels. So this might just be a nice lower leg stretch. You may shift your body weight from one side to the other and feel it in the ankles. Keep pulling that low belly in and dropping your tailbone toward the ground. All right. And then I'm going to invite you to fold forward. Hands on the thighs. So starting to feel those quads get warm. And we're going to take a twist. So you could take your forearm to the outside of your right leg, or you could go a little deeper and take your elbow out, but check in with your knees. Make sure they're still in line with one another. So you're pulling that left hip back. Maybe your hands come together. Most important thing is to keep the spine long here. Almost want to feel like you're doing back bend. Get longer, maybe twist a little more. And again, if you know a way to go deeper into this pose, feel free. Exhale, release the twist. Bring your hands back to your thighs. Drop your tailbone. Shoulders back over the hips. And then inhale, straighten back into Shavasana, mountain pose. Bring your shoulders up, back, and down. Turn your palms facing forward. And take a breath. Okay, and we'll get ready to go to the other side, so wiggle those toes. Sit down into your heels. Maybe shift from side to side a little bit. Shoulders are still stacked over the hips. Then maybe you want to fold a little bit deeper. Maybe the forearm goes to the outside of the thigh or the hand. Maybe you fold a little more forward. Most important thing is to keep the spine long, right? Maybe your palms come together. Try and keep the knees in line. Spread your toes wide. Soften your gaze. Come back to that intention that you set. And then exhaling, gently release the twist, hands to the thighs. Stay low, shoulders over the hips. And then inhaling, straighten the legs, bring your shoulders up, back, and down. Nice. Okay, we're going to do one more one-legged balance, eagle pose. All right, so we start in that same chair pose position. You could definitely go ahead and hold on to a wall here or back up against a wall. You're going to take your, I'm going to be your mirror. You're going to take your left knee and cross it over your right. Maybe you stay kickstand. Maybe you can sit a little bit lower and interlace your foot behind your shin. And then you're going to take your arms out to the side. So go where's right for you, and then you're going to take your left elbow under your right. Use your focal point, something that's not moving, so don't watch me. Maybe you give yourself a hug. Maybe you interlace your lower arms so your palms come together. Easier to stack your shoulders over your hips here. It's a really challenging pose. Oh, there I go. Beautiful. So when you've had enough, just go ahead and come out. Nice. And come back to Tadasana. It's just a journey. It's a practice, right? Rarely will we ever get it perfect. If ever. Probably not. Wiggle your toes, right? Sit down into your heels. And now you're going to shift your weight, take your right leg over your left. Maybe kickstand. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Remember that cable inside the crane. It works here too. Arms out to the side. Right elbow under left. Nice. So find your focal point. Your drishti. And breathe. That means deep inhale, deep exhale. Nice, and when you've had enough, let it go. And shake it out. Maybe do a little empty coat sleeves. Right, just a nice easy twist. Good. So we're going to do one more inversion, downward facing dog. All right, so I'm going to come to the front of the mat. So you could do this holding onto the wall, right? Or a chair, so it would look something like this. Or you can fold your ribs towards your thighs, take a forward fold, and walk your feet out till you're a big long upside down V. So if you have trouble with your shoulders, you could come on down to your elbows. But the way to figure out if your length is right is to inhale and come to some version of a plank pose, shoulders over the wrists, even if that's with your knees down on the ground or your elbows down. However you are, when you lift your hips up and back, that's going to be the right length for your downward facing dog. So a couple breaths here. Just let your head hang between your upper arms. Turn your thigh bones inward and your upper arms toward the ceiling. Relax the jaw. One more breath cycle. And then pull the low belly in and slowly and gently, no thunking, float the knees down. And if it's okay with your knees, take a child's pose. If not, just bring yourself onto your belly. We will meet you there. If you're in child's pose, inhaling, bring your shoulders over your wrists. As you exhale, you're going to squeeze your elbows in. Try and keep your hips up to last, chest and chin to the mat. So we're just going to do a little bit of back body strengthening here. A little bit more. So make a pillow for your head with your hands. Squeeze your inner thighs together like a mermaid tail. And inhale. Raise your heels up, keeping your legs straight. Couple breaths here. And exhaling, gently release. Rock your hips from side to side. So this next one, remember, it's just a sensation you're going for. You're going to rest your forehead on the mat and take your fingertips behind your skull. So at the base of the skull, those little occipital bones, just let your fingertips rest there. And on an inhale, you're going to lift your elbows toward the sky. So keep them there. Exhale everything out. On your next inhale, use your back muscles to raise your shoulders. Maybe you're just going to gaze forward a couple of inches. Super challenging. Push your feet into the mat. All about the upper back, not the lower back. And exhaling, gently release, elbows down, forehead down. Rock your hips from side to side again. Let's try that one more time, right? Fingertips behind the base of the skull. Inhaling, lift your elbows. See if you can get them out of your peripheral vision. I can't, but it's something to aspire to. Keep pushing your legs into the mat, tops of your feet. Exhale everything out. And on your next inhale, raise your shoulders up. Just gaze at your mat. And exhaling, gently release. Make that pillow for your head with your hands. And rock your hips from side to side again. So super challenging, but really good for our back muscles. Put your hands under your shoulders. Pull your low belly in. Lift your hips up first if you can, and come on back to all fours. And just rock your hips from side to side. So go ahead and sit down onto your right hip and swing your legs forward. So again, this is a place where you want to sit up on a block or blankets. Keep your pelvis tilted upright. Go ahead and bend your right knee so your foot's flat on the ground. So that same concept of the cable inside the crane, we want to be drawing our inner thighs toward one another. Get really, really tall, and on an exhale, twist toward that bent leg. Right? So a chance to challenge those core muscles, that center cable. Maybe keep your body where it is and see if you can extend your top arm forward so it's right over your leg. And bring it back to your knee. Sit up tall again. Maybe keep your body upright right where it is and see if you can extend your back arm. Super challenging. And exhale, gently release that hand back to the ground. Is anyone up for trying Both arms. Pull your low belly in. Sit up tall. See if you can keep your inner thighs drawing toward one another and extend your arms out off the back. Nice. And exhaling, gently release. So as you turn forward toward your legs, just let your right knee drop open. Maybe rock from side to side a little bit on your sitting bones. So there shouldn't be any pain anywhere, right? You could lengthen this leg out a little bit if you need. Sit up very tall and start to fold yourself toward your extended leg. So maybe if you have a strap or a tie, you can wrap that around your foot, or you could reach for your ankle. So it's up to you and your spine if it would feel good to fold forward. If you really want to work on your posture, it might be better to take your shoulders up towards your ears, roll them backwards, rest your hands on the ground as you're drawing your shoulder blades toward your waist. So a couple breaths wherever you are. Maybe in addition to the intention you set, adding a little bit of surrender, letting go. Maybe getting lost in a moment of gratitude. And then on an inhale, use your hands and your lower abdominals to raise your shoulders back over your hips. And stretch that leg out. Give it a shake. Okay, so I'm going to just turn around so I don't have my back to you. So now we're bending the other knee, getting ready for that twist on the other side. So sit up really, really tall. Bottom leg is active as well, and you're going to twist toward that front leg. Think about those inner thighs working. Maybe, if you can keep your alignment, take that top arm forward. Nice. Soften the jaw. Good. Bring that hand back to the knee. Kind of readjust yourself, get tall again. Maybe you want to think about taking the other arm out. Nice, releasing that. So use your own body's wisdom. Decide if you want to try both arms. Nice. Pull that belly in, make the spine long. Nice, and exhaling, gently releasing as you turn toward your legs. Let that bent knee flop open. Get right up on your sitting bones. And we'll go for that forward fold. So decide what's right for your spine. Maybe you want to roll the shoulders back and down and use your hands. Or maybe it would feel okay to fold all the way over. Good. Inhaling. Use your hands to bring your shoulders back over your hips and lengthen both legs out. So those forward folds are great to do before bed, right? Help us sleep. So we're going to do a Batakanasana, bound angle. So as long as it's okay with your knees, soles of the feet together. Knees gently flopping open. Maybe rock from side to side a little bit. And on an exhale, bring yourself forward. So same thing with the forward folds. You have the option of keeping your chest puffed out and your spine really, really long. That antidote to hunching over a computer or a steering wheel or a sewing machine. Or maybe you want the elbows to come out and let your spine round. Pull your low belly in, inhaling, bring yourself back up. And draw your knees up. So we're going to use this to roll ourselves, a little core exercise, one last front body exercise. If it's safe with your spine, if it's not, use your hands to guide you down to the mat. But if you're able to reach your arms forward, check in with those legs and make sure your inner thighs are still working. We'll just roll down for the count of 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and let everything go. Everything. Couple of deep exhales. So this last pose I have to offer is a little bit like eagle pose on your back. So safely draw your knees up and then into your chest. And just like you would have your legs in eagle pose, cross the knees so they're really close together, but keep your hands on that bottom thigh. And maybe you can interlace your hands underneath the bottom thigh, or maybe you can use a strap or a towel or something. So feel the back of your neck long. And then as you squeeze your legs toward your chest, you might feel an interesting stretch in a hamstring muscle. It's kind of like the outside one. It's not quite your IT band, you know, that real intense side stretch where you feel all the way down under your knee. This is just on the outer part of the hamstring, the belly of the muscle. I feel like it gets ignored a lot. Do a lot of inner thigh attention. You might not feel it at all. You might want to hold on to the shins instead. And then gently release. Just holding your shins or the backs of your thighs and rocking a little bit from side to side before we go to the other side. So you cross your right knee closely over the left. See if you can hold the back of the left thigh. And then draw the legs close to the chest so you can get in on that hamstring stretch. I gotta learn the name of that muscle. But it's more important that you feel it. So again, if that's not working for you and you just want to hold your shins, that's okay too. You'll feel it in a different place in your hip. And then exhaling, gently release. So as we transition to Shavasana, maybe you want to take bound dangle pose again. Soles of the feet together, knees flopping open. That feels okay with your low back. Or maybe you want to tuck a block under your sacrum for a gentle back bend, but make sure it's under your sacrum and not the curve of your lumbar spine. So if you can do that, it would be under the big bony part of your hips. So you could go into traditional Shavasana, just fully stretched out. You could go to a piece of furniture and put your calves on a chair for a modified legs up the wall. So most important pose of all, letting go, right? Recall that intention that you set. Exhale out, let it go. So remembering that this practice is all about getting here to this moment, making yourself available to the spirit. before you get moving again, I invite you to do a little body scan. So check in with the top side of your body, the tops of your feet, tops of your shins, tops of your quadricep muscles, hip points, front ribs, collarbone, jaw. Feel all of those things sinking deeper into your body. Really letting go. And then the same with the back side of the body, your heels, the meaty part of your calves, the backs of your knees, your thighs, your pelvis, the back side of the ribs, the shoulder blades, the whole arm, the back of the head. Just let it sink, completely supported by the earth. And then from that point, decide how you want to get moving again. Maybe it's wiggling the fingers and the toes. So eventually bending the knees. Maybe taking the arms over the head or out to side, or crossing them over your body if you're giving yourself a hug. And then eventually rolling yourself with your knees bent to one side so that you can safely push yourself up to seated. So remembering that losing yourself, losing your life to gain it, probably doesn't feel like a championship basketball game. It feels more like what you were just doing. On the inhale, bring your hands to your heart center. Give yourself a pat on the back for showing up and cultivating that quality, that what you will be in the tough times. I have a quote to share with you. This was Albert Schweitzer. He said, "I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know, the only ones among you who will be truly happy are those who will have sought and found how to serve." Thank you for being here. The Spirit in me honors the Spirit in each of you. Namaste.